This is Lindsey Harrison with the It Crowd. And if you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should listen to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my good friend, Scott Ferguson. Let's level up.
Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and I have a good friend of mine, Lindsey Harrison, that I finally got on here to really do an interview with her. She has a company called the It Crowd. And basically, if you're an entrepreneur or a C-suite executive, you kind of have some marketing in place, but you really need to find that next level. Let me make a warm introduction to Lindsey. The knowledge nuggets she drops in here to help basically the free knowledge that she puts out to help you really grow your company in our discussion was just above reproach. So I know that you're going to get a lot from it. Even if you're not and you just want ideas on how to level up your life, tune into this because Lindsey's journey is absolutely phenomenal, from kind of her youth to some failures to how to overcome them and now to where she is right now, a highly sought after agency. So without further ado, here's my really good friend, Lindsey Harrison from the It Crowd. Let's level up. Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and I'm going to be in Texas this afternoon. If I would have known that, we would just did this interview in Texas at my good friend Karen Gray's place, her awesome podcast studio out there. Shout out to you, Karen. But I have a kind of a serial entrepreneur, somebody that is versed in many different backgrounds, from commercial real estate, where she was juggling territories from Manhattan to Chicago, kind of like a trial by fire, trial by sorted out kind of thing. And Lindsey has worked a lot with the corporate, a lot with media, but now she's putting her business acumen to work, helping other businesses grow and to achieve success with fractional marketing agency. If you just listened to my last show, I had no idea what fractional marketing is. I was like back to back kind of thing here with my good friend Lindsey Harrison. And basically the It Crowd is her company. And she says it's a noun to be inclusive, inventive, and involved. And they are intentional about utilizing their gifts and resources to give back to the community. They are open to challenges and being raw with others. They believe that changing lives starts with them and will cause a ripple effect, one community at a time. Lindsey, thank you so much for coming on. Please introduce yourself to the Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
Purple.
Awesome.
It's always been my favorite color. My mom's favorite color was red. And I think that all girls, when they're little, their favorite color is pink.
Right.
But I always liked purple. And you can see in my background, we have pink. And I have told my graphic designers many times, I'm like, please just take the pink. Less is more, less is more. But they continue to give me pink. But purple is definitely the color. Why? I don't know. As I got older, you hear that purple is a royalty color, and I'm not
legal and royal.
No, not at all. But I don't know. It just resonates with me. I like it. I
love it. Purple's my favorite color too, and it matches my personality because I'm chill blue. Like I'm looking at the Atlantic Ocean right now, and I'm very chill and blue. But also, there's a red side that can kind of come out on me if my clients are taken care of, or if somebody's not. Or even myself, if I'm not living up to my standards, that red can come out fired up. And so I kind of mesh them together. So I guess blue and red is purple. So I can kind of see that with you being a serial entrepreneur and like running an agency, I'm sure you have to carry both sides of that aisle as well. So purple fits you perfectly. And don't worry, your graphic designer, I will tell them that everything around your show today will be built around purple. That's kind of why I ask the question, because you'll see a lot of the marketing we put out will be put around purple, or around the favorite color. But let's get to your roots, because you kind of started like the rat race, right? Kind of this is what it's supposed to be. This is what you went to school for, yada. But let's start a little bit there and let that kind of aha moment, eureka moment. It was like, okay, I'm going to go out, make this bigger, and be of service to people.
Yep. So I actually I was supposed to go to school for a full ride for soccer, and I didn't go because of a boy.
Okay.
This is not something that you should do, but I didn't go because of a boy. So that changed my whole trajectory. And I look back on that decision now, and being a stupid 18-year-old, it was just because of a boy. But now I actually don't know if I would ever change that decision, because it changed me from being part of, you go to school, you get a job, you stay in that job, you move a job, like that whole life, to where I am now. So I stayed here in my corporate life, if you like. That's kind of where that started. So I started bartending. I started waiting tables and bartending. And from that, I actually had some regulars and they were from the UK. And they would come in every few months and we would talk. And finally, at one point, I said, "Hey, if you guys ever need any help, I would love to help." And they said, "What, Lindsay, we've been waiting for you to ask us that because you remind us of our top salesperson in the UK. You're hired."
Wow.
And from that, that's where my commercial real estate started. So they were an e-broker, so an online broker, and they would go in and we would we would help companies or customers find executive suites. So phone lines, internet connection, furniture, everything was all already included for
Got
you.
you.
And it was a great alternative. This is really before like WeWork came into place and these types of businesses came into
Right.
place.
Yeah.
And so this was almost 20 years ago at this point.
Wow.
And I learned everything about sales from this company. I got to travel all over the United States, all over the world. Their headquarters were in the UK. And that's where kind of this corporate world, also learning how to do sales, started. So I was on a headset for 8 hours a day. You had to do a certain amount of phone calls, and like that's just how it started.
Sure.
Through that, I then left there, and again, still in my corporate world track, I moved into advertising. And so I worked for a local magazine here in Dallas, who then ended up getting sold to a larger magazine across the United States. And that was cold calling. That was cold calling and getting into companies and trying to figure out, could they advertise with us? So that was a whole different beast there as
Yeah.
well. So that kind of started.
What year was that, by the way, when you got into that?
Let's see here. So that had to have been close to 2008.
That's when the market was crashing too. And then trying to sell advertising during, that's what I was wondering. Because if you said 20 years ago, which by the way, you don't look like you're old enough to do that either way. I'm 52. I try to keep it together as well, but I know you're not that old. But it's like I just started to do the math and go, 2008. Yeah. So it had to have been hard. So what kind of challenges did you have then that you really kind of parlayed over into starting your businesses that you learned and overcame?
Yeah, so I kind of specify the corporate track because I was doing my own businesses while I was doing this corporate track.
Gotcha.
So I started businesses actually when I was really young. I started pet sitting. My parents said, "Hey, you need to go find some income source." And most of my colleagues did babysitting, but that really wasn't my MO.
Wasn't your jam? Got it.
Yep. So
Mine either.
Yeah, the pets, they don't talk back to you. So it worked out. And so I started in my neighborhood. And then you have a bike so you can go as far as you possibly can. And then as I got a driver's license, then I started growing that business farther. And then I had people that were saying, like my colleagues, or not even colleagues, but my friends at that time, they were saying, "Hey, can we get in on this? Like, how does this, like, we see that you're making this money. What's happening here?" And so I started getting employees. By the time I was done with that, I had about 1,200 pet sitting customers.
No, really? Dude, that's amazing.
I know, it was crazy. And back then, like cameras weren't everywhere and people just gave you their keys. So like I had this binder of just keys. It was crazy. So yeah, I started that. I ended up selling that company. And so that
what was the name of it, Lindsay?
Called Funky Pets.
Funky Pets. Nice.
Funky Pets. Yes, yes. So I had to learn how to advertise at that point. So this is kind of where all this comes. So that was the first company. I ended up selling that to a larger company here in Dallas, which that was what gave me my itch to go, okay, here we go. From that, I had multiple other businesses. They slowly got larger and larger. I had a deal a day website. Groupon was really huge at that time. I thought it was awesome. So I was like, let's do that for Dallas.
Love that.
So I did that, Dallas, Fort Worth. Then I had a girlfriend that said, "Hey, do you want to own a clothing store?" I said, "No, sounds horrible to me." And she goes, "No, no, no, I'll do all the clothing stuff and you just do the business stuff because of that." I'm like, "All right, fine." So I did that, expanded that company. And then after that one sold, I started the agency. So that was a long story long, but
this is that was awesome. Thank you.
We are now.
Catch me up. Any of those ventures fail?
failed in part,
Okay.
but all of them ended up selling. So
Nice.
yeah.
Awesome. Nice. And so are we kind of rolling forward to about in 2014 when it crowd kind of started rocking?
Yeah, so
Okay.
November of 2014 is when the crowd started.
Okay.
Uh, and that started just, I had two companies that knew me from the stores and
Okay.
said before that, hey, can you come do marketing for us? And I said, no, I have a store and
Right.
multiple stores that I'm
Right.
running at this time. And then when they found out that it sold, they called and said, you're hired. And so
Wow.
that's how the agency started.
So I'm hearing a lot of a huge expertise in the marketing side, right? Where do you think companies make the biggest mistake with their marketing?
I have a blog post on this, and there's a few things. One, if companies are failing, do not start with marketing. Like if you are desperate for a customer, do not come to me. Because let me tell you the reason why. You have your last 10,000, 100,000, $1 million, whatever it is, you have your last amount because if this doesn't work, then it's not, your company isn't going to work. And I look at these people and I say, you need to sell. Go out and sell your product. Don't
Yeah.
call marketing. Marketing is here to boost and to
Get off your
enhance.
butt. Yeah.
We're here to help your sales team.
Sure.
We are not here to sell for you. So if you're on your last ditch effort to make a company work, do not invest in marketing. So that's
Right.
one.
Okay.
Two, companies, I work with a lot of CEOs and they have these pie in the sky things that they want to do, which is awesome. And marketing sounds really fun like that. But when you start talking about it, if you don't have the basics, if you don't have baseline marketing, if you don't have email campaigns that are going out, if you don't have your messaging, if you don't have a branding kit. Like if you don't have these things, then you shouldn't be doing these pie in the sky things until your baseline is here. So I
Yeah.
tell people, do your baseline and do it very, very well. And then let's sprinkle in the pixie dust. Let's sprinkle in, hey, this is a really cool idea. And let's try that. And because marketing is not guaranteed, like at least we have our baseline to be able to build off of. And hopefully some of these pixie dust ideas start coming together.
I love that. I love it. So you launched the It Crowd, right? And then so how did you start really marketing that? Or did you have some people in place that said, hey, I got like 4 or 5 companies right now I know this will work for, and then we'll branch out from there. Is that how it went, or was it just from ground up?
Yeah, so like I said, I had two companies already that called me immediately after my last venture and said, "Come, you're hired."
Okay.
So that's where it started. One was a nonprofit. It was a trail that was here in Dallas,
Okay.
and she had seen the different things. Actually, the trail kind of ran really close to my clothing store, so we had become. She had tried to get us to advertise with them, etc. So we had become friends, and through that the executive director, or the not the executive director, the what's his title? I can't remember his title, but one of the guys that was on the board, he owned an architecture firm and he saw what we were doing with the trail and said, hey, come on. And then one of his best friends was an MEP engineer and said, hey, come on. And so it just kind of grew that way.
Nice. Are you just mainly in the Metroplex area? Are you nationwide, or what's your story there?
Yeah, we started off just in Dallas.
Okay.
And especially when I first started, if you weren't in the office, you weren't working. That was my mentality. And
Okay.
COVID really shifted that mindset. But because of that, I was very much all about hands-on and talking to people and having them come into the office and really wanted to be face to face with them. Since COVID, we actually have gone international. So we've got a company that's in Ireland, we've got a few that are in Canada, we've got one that's in Mexico.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah,
It's like a
so
blessing, the whole Corona thing. That's how I look at it. It was because we all had to shift. A lot of people say pivot. Maybe people your age say pivot or whatnot, but I say shift, or maybe you can say shivot, right? You kind of one of the two, right? And you didn't make excuses. You make adjustments because you're a winner. And that a lot of that probably goes back to your soccer playing days and the discipline that you had with that. So, Lindsay, let me ask you something. If I'm at a networking event, press and flash, meeting people, what kind of keywords might I be hearing from people that would make them a great referral, introduction, or a prospect for the IT Crowd?
Great question. I don't know if I've ever been asked that question. So I'm going back to my very, very beginning days, and what did I look for? Well, first I looked for who they were in the company. Are they a decision maker? So are you a C-level executive? Are you a CEO? We usually come into companies on the CEO level because they've either heard of us or we've had a one-on-one conversation with them and they say, hey, I need you to talk to so-and-so. So we usually come in on that level. But if I'm thinking about it, okay, so I really want new sales. So that would be something that I'm thinking about. I'm not totally sure how to structure this. That would be another thing that I would hear. So one thing that has changed a little bit about the IT Crowd is we started off as a full service marketing agency, and about 7 years ago, 7 years ago, I started going into C-level executive meetings and seeing, okay, your baseline isn't there as a company. Like, not even just marketing, but it's just not there as a company. So if you start bringing leads in, how are you gonna service those leads? And
Gotcha.
I had read a book called Traction. Have you heard of Traction?
I've heard of it. I haven't read it. It might be on my desk over here as my
Yeah,
coach has a mandatory read for me. So you might go on the
good.
flight with me tonight then.
Perfect. Well, so Traction, I read that, and the next week I was like, company, we're starting to implement this, and it transformed my business. And so I've introduced a lot of other business owners or C-level executives to this book. And then I had some executives go, hey, I'm not going to read this. Can you just do this for us? Can you implement this with
Oh
us?
yeah. Those are the
And I'm like,
best.
I've told them, I go, guys, I'm not an implementer, because they have a whole
Right.
implementer system and all of the things. But if you want help understanding what this book is and you want me to take you through the basics, sure. And so I started doing that too, which has been phenomenal to be able to have that side of the business. So back to your question, what am I looking for? I'm looking for, we don't really know what to do with this initiative.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with employees. We are looking to grow. I'm just in a rut. Like, a lot of CEOs are just in a rut. And
Absolutely.
where do I go
They
next?
need
And
that
so,
fresh voice a lot of times. That's why
yeah,
even with me, I get brought in because they don't know how to motivate the troops because the troops are scared of them, kind
yeah.
of, right? I'm saying, so they bring me in and just be like, dude, you guys are on each other's side, isn't that? So what do you feel your strengths are within your niche, your business, with what you have going on?
We're really good at seeing the high level and going, okay, what does this company need or want to do? Those are two very, very different things. What do you need and what do you want to do? So let's look high level, and then let's pick out what those things are, and we're going to plan it. And then we're actually going to trickle it all the way down to how we can implement it.
Implement.
My
I was
team,
literally typing implement the second you said implement. I swear it's
yeah,
right here.
yeah,
That's awesome. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. So how about your weaknesses? What do you still think that you are still working on leveling up?
Yeah, I think for us, those pixie dust ideas, they're hard.
Pie in the
They're
sky.
hard. Yeah.
Right.
I would say
Absolutely.
that those are still things that we struggle with. And not only one, they're pie in the sky, and they're things that probably haven't been done before.
Right.
There are yes people here at the It Crowd, so it's like, yes, let's do that.
Yeah,
But
but
then looking at it and figuring that out and then implementing it and going, this wasn't proven. Did it work? Did it not work? Like, those are kind of the harder things for us.
right.
We love doing them, but it has to be with the right client. It has to be, you have to have your baseline already
Love it.
done. You have to understand what we're trying to do, and it
Right.
may or may not.
I mean, I could just see you with clients. I have like a Ford acronym I use with anybody I really meet: family, occupation, recreation, dreams, and kind of seeing FORD, right? And kind of seeing, really digging deep with each person and not even bringing them on if you're not the right fit, even if they're going to be a big ticket for you. I appreciate that a lot. That's fantastic. So, Lindsey, have you seen the movie Back to the Future?
I have.
Okay. And I know it's gonna be like 40 years old. And I was like a teenager when it came. It's crazy. Anyways, so let's get in that DeLorean with Marty McFly. Let's go back to the Double Deuce, the 22-year-old Lindsey.
Okay.
What kind of knowledge nuggets might you drop on her? Not to change it. I don't want you to change your journey, okay, at all, because it's pretty freaking awesome. But to maybe help her maybe blast through, level up, or maybe shorten the learning curve just a little bit.
Sure. Actually, so my team, we do I'm in questions. So if you haven't implemented this in your team, I highly suggest it. So every morning we get together, quick huddle, and we do I'm in. And it's a question. Somebody gets to ask a question, any type of question. And today, the question was, if instantly you became an expert at something, what would it be? So Scott, instantly, what would it be?
Just like I would be a listener. I would be like the listener, period. Because I like to say that I am 2 ears, one mouth for a reason. But if I could instantly be the best at it, that would be what it is. Because curiosity is my superpower.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, mine would be to really be able to relate and influence others.
Love that. Love it.
And when I was 22, I think that as an entrepreneur, you have to have a fire. You have to have that red to you, like what you said. But your blue is where the magic is.
Absolutely.
Your blue
Yeah.
and your purple is where the magic is. It's not
Absolutely.
your red.
No.
And I had a lot of red in my 22. I had a lot of fire. And that got me
You
a
didn't
lot.
give a shit. You didn't, you were
Right.
like, I'm doing this. And you find out you attract a lot more with niceness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that that would probably be the lesson that I would teach my 22-year-old is be more in the purple.
That's
Be more
awesome.
in the relatable with your customer, not
That's
even with your
awesome.
customers, but with your teammates.
Yeah.
Just with people. I
You
would
just
say,
have a lot more empathy a lot
yeah.
of times because I didn't, because I'm like, I'm going to the top. Yeah. Next thing was kind of like preying on other people's misfortunes to get by sometimes. And then it straightened me out in 08, 09 when I had to readjust everything. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how does Lindsey want her dash remember? That little line in between your incarnation date and your expiration date, your life date and death date. Hopefully it's way down the line. But how does Lindsey want her dash remember? Lindsey, not her company, Lindsey.
I want to be remembered as a strong follower of Christ and somebody that comes in and makes other people's lives better, whether that's by a conversation, whether that's by something that I did on the outskirts, whether that's something that they just saw within my life that transformed theirs. That would be what I would want.
That's beautiful. That's a true leader too. That's why people follow you. I know that if I was in a room with you, I would like be listening, and just your energy that kind of comes across. I get that a lot because I'm 6'1" and 230. I'm a big dude, right? But I'm also the first guy to give you hugs and just exuberant. And I want you to win I'm more interested in your story than telling you mine, right? And I can just see that with you. That's awesome, Lindsey. So what do you think people might misunderstand the most about you?
So have you heard of the Enneagram?
The what?
No.
Okay, Enneagram?
So Enneagram. It's called the Enneagram. So it's very similar to different personality structures. So I am an 8 on the Enneagram. The 8 is the challenger. I am 8 through and through. So you can be a helper on the Enneagram. Like there's 8 different, or there's 9 different numbers that you can be. I'm the 8. And so go look that's another book for you for your flight.
Okay.
Traction, Enneagram, 2 of them.
How do you spell that, love?
ENNEAGRAM, I would guess.
Gotcha.
Enneagram.
Got it.
Okay, go back to the question. I lost it.
Might people misunderstand that a little bit about you?
Yeah, so because of an 8, if you see a male that's an 8, they are usually said to be courageous and fierce and a leader and strong. Like these are the adjectives that they have for 8s. For females, that adjective is not as good. That adjective is
might start with a B or something like that. I feel you.
Right.
I feel you. Yeah, it's too bad, but it's true in the biz. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be I guess the biggest misconception of if you get me in my right zone, I probably come across as that, which is not something that I am proud of, but it's part of it.
It's part of the journey. It happens.
Yeah.
It happens. And sometimes, honestly, Lindsey, you have to. And especially being a female, I'm sorry, but I do coach a female. She's a billionaire, and like there's certain things that we talk about on her journey up that she wished she would have did differently, but no, she couldn't do differently.
Yeah.
She had to do
Yeah.
it. You know what I'm saying? All right. Time to shine today, podcast Varsity Squad. We are back, and Lindsey, one of these times we're gonna have to meet up when I'm in Dallas. I'm there like seems like every month nowadays, but definitely like meet up and introduce you to some people that I know that might be able to go over to the IT crowd. I think you might be perfect for them. Actually, I'm thinking at the top of my head, but
Love it.
and we'll maybe grab a coffee or lunch and talk about some of these questions like at length. But today, you got 5 seconds with no explanations, and they can all be answered that way. You ready to level up?
Ready.
Let's do this. Lindsey, what is the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
Just do it.
I know. It's so neutral statement. It's so awesome. I love that. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Running.
Yeah. So you might see me at an event or just kind of walking down the street. Fergie looks like he's in his doldrums a little bit. What book might you hand me to level me up?
Fraction.
There you go. Love it. Your most commonly used emoji when you text.
That one that's like tilted with the tears coming down their eyes.
Yeah.
Or this one. This one.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Love it. Nicknames growing up?
Slim.
Love it. Any hidden talent and or superpower that you have that nobody knows about until now?
Oh gosh. I really am very good at singing, but I do not do it.
Love it. Love it. Chess, checkers, or Monopoly?
Monopoly.
Awesome. Headline for your life?
Be kind.
Yeah. Any superstitions you buy into?
No.
No, me neither. Me neither. Go-to ice cream flavor?
Oh. Chocolate chip cookie dough with mint chocolate chip on top.
I can jam with that. That's awesome. There's a sandwich called the Slim Hittner. Build that sandwich for me. What's on it?
Turkey, onion, lettuce, tomato, some sort of like pickle relish,
Okay.
olive oil and vinegar,
Ooh.
cheese.
You're building it up.
Like
You're just missing the man candy, man, the bacon for me anyways.
oh, no bacon. Well, you could do bacon if it's really crispy. Like if it's that
very cool.
that you get, like that's just like chewy,
I like mine done.
Like pulling it, you're fighting it. It's not.
Exactly.
And then you have to have a really good bread. Like the bread is where it's at.
Yes, like a good moist, not moist, but like soft, moist. Nah, you don't want moist. Like a kind of a soft ciabatta bread or something like that.
Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Favorite charity and or organization you like to give your time and or money to?
Ooh.
Doesn't have to be favorite. You can give one that you love, that you do like.
So we just our church is doing a really big campaign that's very different. They're planting churches that are focused on meeting people where they are, as opposed to building chapels, which is really cool. So that was where we just last put our money in. That's
awesome. Thank you for doing that, Lindsey. And last question, we can elaborate on this one, but what's the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
90s.
All right. Very cool. I can see you saying that. I'm just kind of putting together your business age versus like kind of the time you grew up. I can see you jamming in the 90s. So, Lindsey, how can we find you, my friend?
We're everywhere online. So theitcrowd.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, any type of social media, except for TikTok. I'm not a performer. So that doesn't work for me. YouTube, any of those, but website is theitcrowd.com.
The It Crowd. That's a really cool URL that you landed too. The It Crowd. I mean, obviously the In Crowd has probably got bought off for a long time ago, but the It Crowd that's a solid URL. Congratulations on that. So, Lindsey, do me a solid, leave us with one last knowledge nugget we can take with us, internalize, and take action on.
Processes. So I had a mentor at one point, and that is before I started my businesses. He said that is where everything is. And for multiple years, I did not believe him. And now, not only do I believe him, I actually coach that too. So if your businesses don't have processes and they're not written down and being able to be replicated by anybody that comes out on the street into your business, then you're not doing it right.
Love that. In the processes where everything is. And squad, we just had not only a fun conversation, but a kind of a free masterclass on really how to, like, if you don't know how to get something done, then hire it out. Henry Ford said it, and I've lived by it. Being from the Motor City, the smartest man in the room hires someone smarter than them to get things done. And you're talking to Lindsey, who has quite a journey. I mean, she kind of bailed on a soccer scholarship for a boy, which ended up kind of being a blessing. She found out that she was serving people. Me and her just kind of like, she's a sister from another mister, because again, I kind of got my start coming out of the military and waiting tables. And I would just ask. That's how I started becoming a real estate broker, which made me the top 2% in Michigan by doing that, because I asked brokers that would come in. She was just asked. That's all they were waiting for. And when you ask, the experience can be endless. She started like different businesses with funky pets. One thing I noticed about her is that it's never about her. It was about the business. She does it for the intention, not the attention. And with that, she's planting seeds that she's never going to sit in the shade of. It's going to carry on past her. And if you're a company and you're kind of on your last dime, she reminded us, let's not go and find Lindsey. Let's get out and beat the streets and go get it built so you can get to a point where Lindsey can kind of take you to the next level. I'm sure Lindsey would share a couple of things like, go do this. But before you go finding a company like the It Crowd, get off your butt and get going and doing it. And if you are a C-suite decision maker, you're out there, you have a basis, you have a process in place, but you want new sales, structure, intuitive guidance, then let me make a warm introduction to my good friend Lindsey here. I'd be happy to do that. And Lindsey is very relatable. She's fun, strong follower of Christ. With that, she makes others' lives better. Don't forget to go pick up the book Traction, which Donnie gave me a thumbs up. I do have it over here on my bookshelf, so that's going on the plane with me this afternoon. And lastly, don't forget processes. Have those in place, and everything will start to fall into place. And that's what Lindsey can help you do at a larger level and get your company out there and known. And she does it from a place of service. And she levels up her health. She levels up her wealth. She's not only stunning, she's so well-spoken. She's absolutely just a person that I definitely want to collaborate with in the future. You've earned your varsity letter here at Time to Shine today. Thank you so much for coming on, Lindsey. Absolutely love your guts.
I love it. Thank you. I appreciate you having us.
You bet. Chat soon.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today podcast. Proudly brought to you by Sutter & Nugent Real Estate Excellence, who can be reached at 561-249-7266 and online at www.sutterandnugent.com. If you are a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on Time to Shine Today, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also there, you will see our recommended resources. We hope that you will support our show by supporting them. If you like what you've been listening to, it'd be great if you could just give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's our time to shine.